Hi everyone, it's Evelyn from Twin Flames 3344. I have some messages for you today and oracle cards, and I want to get started. It's really all about the Knight of Wands today, and you can hear my throat. So a lot of stuff came up today about childhood wounding. Today it's really all about the child and abuse of power. So I wanted to get into what's coming up, and then the energies for the day, which is the Knight of Wands today. And the Knight of Wands came up as well in my cards. So some of the quick downloads came up yesterday, late yesterday, was I am woman, hear me roar. And then just the term eclipse, because things are going to be eclipsed out, eclipsed in. Okay, it's eclipse. And I was getting the symbol of the 0 with the line straight through it as like eclipse energy. And it was so strange yesterday. When I went up to see my mom, I went to visit her in the Alzheimer's facility yesterday, which I brought up yesterday. And sorry, I'm still in my PJs, so I'm kind of a mess. But it was like a time warp. As I was driving there, I swear, like I saw my ex randomly on the side of the road and not in a place where I normally pass. And then I started just seeing street names of like all like karmic past, you know, like kind of like Christmas past. All the way there were like, I kept seeing names of karmic energies that were in my past. And then when I got there, the whole name of the facility had changed and the management had changed. I'd never gotten a notice about anything. It's like a complete shift of timeline. And my mother was in a terrible mood, and it's a switch. She's kind of back to the way she used to be. Oh, and I just heard something about that too, about switching back to 2009. Well, anyway, she's back to like her old kind of grouchy self, whereas before she's, you know, actually she's been really pleasant the past 6 months or so whenever I've gone to visit. So I was definitely seeing a definite shift in timeline and energy. And just like kind of feeling like in another time zone. I got time travel. Yeah. So that was weird. I wanted to share that. And then the movie that I watched last night was called Like Father. So obviously it's going to be a lot about like father, like son stuff coming up. But what's funny in the movie for me personally, she did advertisements, and in the beginning of the movie, right away they're showing her at work working on a project, and it comes up on the screen, the actual advertisement, and it lists authentic, genuine, whole, idyllic, simple, serene, hearth, natural, organic, love. And then it was for Evie's chips. So I thought that was pretty funny, because I don't know a whole lot of Evelyns, and I don't know a whole lot of Evelyns who call themselves Evie, so that was pretty funny for me. Some very deep energies are coming up, and the lovers are coming up a lot, so it's all about this sexual energy, about death and rebirth, and about the magician, you know, manipulation of energy and control. Abuse of power, that type of thing. I just noticed at midnight last night too, my left big toe started throbbing. So if that resonates with anyone, let me know. My left big toe just all of a sudden started throbbing and hurting right at midnight, like at 12:01. Also, I was picking up like a surprise heart attack, that someone might have come back from the dead last night, and that's just random. Obviously, it's not for most people. Just a lot of change for the divine masculine energy was a lot of like 5s and 10s, like, you know, huge changes leading into new beginnings. And then for the divine feminines were more like the 44 and 11 energies. So we get into today, and today is August 6, 2018. 6 is the lovers, and you know, 8 is the strength card, the 8. But the day adds up to 25/7. So that is the Knight of Wands. It's actually, it's interesting because it's 7, which is very peaceful, you know, very spiritual. It's the calm before the storm. But it's 25. And 25 is that 5 energy on the inside. So it's explosive, right? Because that's conflict energy, but it's exciting. It's, you know, I always say it's the salesman energy on the outside. It's that knowing a little about a lot of different things, which makes someone very exciting. But maybe it decreases their worthiness inside as well, feeling like they can't master one thing. But either way, 5 inside is going to be explosive energy because they feel free inside. So if they're restricted in any way on the outside or their outer personality, it's going to cause conflict. So on the outside of 25 is the 2. It's the very feminine energy, always seeing both sides of the situation and being balanced. And so this 5 wants to break free of that restriction. But it comes out as a 7, which is the Chariot. You know, the Chariot, you see that as very warlike, but it's that it's the inner quiet strength, which is the power, not, and Spirit's connecting with me, not the outer physical war. If you're following what I'm saying, that's the 7, the quiet strength, the spiritual strength. Okay, so we're coming into this Knight of Wands and how to use that energy properly. How is sexual energy used properly? Because, you know, a lot of people see the Knight of Wands as, you know, the guy who's running in to get the girl, but it can be like a one-night stand, especially if it's reversed. You know, it's kind of the reversed energy of the Knight of Wands. But it's about just physical energy and getting busy, running errands, being passionate about what you're doing, because all of a sudden you're inspired to do what you're doing. So some days you don't want to do your errands, you don't want to go to the grocery store, and then one day all of a sudden you feel inspired to do that. So you're running around getting your stuff done. That's Knight of Wands energy. So I wanted to bring that up because it does come up as I get through the information that I got today. In my sand art, it was very simple. Again, last night, it was actually today's date though. I literally got the day the earth stood still. Like basically nothing happened. It was just stayed, all of a sudden like dropped, but was suspended animation basically. And then this morning I got further information of timeline collapse. Okay, so the day the earth stood still. So I slept better last night. I did wake up a couple times this morning before I finally got up, but I definitely needed to catch up because the past couple nights the energy has been preventing me from staying asleep in the morning. And still I'm getting a lot of stress. I'm waking up, I'm getting sour stomach really easily now, and stress in the chest and between the wings as well. And I know that others are complaining about lower back issues as well. So I went into some of that energy today to see what was up, and this might be a specific message for someone. I was getting allergy to flowers and having to do with fragrances, like in detergents. So if you get, for women, if you get yeast infections a lot, that kind of thing, I was getting, you might need to change your detergent because you're allergic to floral scents and the fragrances, especially in things like Tide and stuff, which is a really heavy scent. Like I can't use that detergent at all because it makes me crazy to have that smell on me. So something, even the cheaper detergents that have the, you know, very neutral type fragrances are better, or just softer fragrances. But it's coming up specifically with flower fragrances, and maybe, you know, washing your underwear and those heavy detergents may be causing your yeast infections. Also was coming up with flour, was actually flour, white flour, that if you have trouble with wheat, which a lot of people do who are unaware, like, I mean, I eat wheat, but when I had my blood tested for allergies, wheat came up as an allergy in my blood. So a lot of people have resistance to wheat and gluten and that kind of thing. So I was being shown that if you're going to eat flour, to at least try organic flour things to see if it helps. A lot of stuff about finances and just the market issues right now were coming up, and just some of the topics that were coming up with passion and the Knight of Wands were, I'll bring up in a minute, but it was definitely like jealousy was coming up, and sexual abuse, passion, all of those things. Also, for divine feminines especially, implementation of follow-through one at a time. Don't try to do everything at once. So if you have projects that you want to do but you get overwhelmed or you lose your passion about it quickly, it's because you're trying to do too many things at the same time to just focus on one thing. Okay. So, yeah, trust issues, jealousy issues, finances, and sexual abuse and abuse of power. So I also was getting for the Divine Feminine not as much guidance coming in now. It's like time for you to practice what you've learned. So you are able to guide yourself more now than having divine guidance. And definitely that Knight of Wands was coming up, and pages were coming up too, Page of Wands and Page of Cups, which is very innocent energy. And again, like I said, 44, 11. The number 415 actually came up twice in a row, so that was significant. You don't usually see that number, 415. And 10, the Wheel of Fortune. So the Devil was coming up as the devil in the details. Might be dealing with the Department of Transportation. Also just to find the key to your releases, that kind of thing. The Five of Orbs was coming up, so that, you know, Five of Swords energy of conflict, and it's mental conflict, you know, it's a war in your own mind, that you will be tested on the things you've learned. So just be aware that you're being tested on this, on what you've learned and how to deal with conflict. Be good at standing in your truth no matter what. The wheel turns. And I was also getting going places, okay? So some positive energy definitely coming through for the Divine Feminine. So for the Divine Feminine, the underlying stuff was coming up as coming together to drop facades or masks that people are wearing. So people are being exposed, truths are coming out. But maybe the Divine Masculine thinking too much, or I was getting the Divine Masculine through their meditation messaging their Divine Feminine. And again, that being able to see their Divine Feminine, doing their, whatever they do, you know, drinking their coffee, just simple little things, but showing back to the Divine Feminine that he's able to see these things. And that they're able to see you able to now deal with things without using your emotions. So you may be dealing with some, for the Divine Feminine, some kid issues and your children's blocks, to talk about them, about this stuff, about protection and the workplace. And just realizing sometimes you need, you know, for your kids, you know, how to do things, like explaining to them that it's not always just one place, that sometimes you have to deal with more than one place to do things. And the kids, I'm feeling, are definitely stressing too much, and this is why this abuse of innocence is coming up, and control. So I definitely was seeing, for the kids too, a left block, and it had to do with the streetcar named Desire. Okay, so it has to do with desires and how kids don't know how to handle their desires properly, their sexual desires especially, and all the frustration that's building up. Clinging to old ways and old guys who have treated them badly, and that devil energy was definitely coming up as abuse. What our children are taught by what abuses they've been through that the parents don't even know about, like thinking of going back to someone, you know, who's toxic for your children, or for them being able to stand in their truth and say goodbye to people who aren't good for them. Teaching them how to protect themselves and their aura, that kind of thing, and how to not get into your head too much, stop thinking so much about things, and meditation is a great tool for that. I was getting passion definitely was coming through again, specifically as a card. also seeing the Divine Masculine at the Divine Feminine side at night when she's not even aware, maybe when the Divine Feminine's sleeping, that the Divine Masculine is visiting her. And I was getting an Empress energy, but it was not a positive energy, although they weren't necessarily reversed, could be. But I was getting that snake energy of an Empress cracking the whip. So a nasty boss type woman, or just could be a mother or a grandmother who's in control and definitely abuses their power. That he belongs to her, whether this is in business or love. But this is the energy from this Empress coming out. And then 50 Shades of Grey was coming up, and specifically those type of situations for certain Divine Masculines are coming up, and it could be Divine Feminines as well. I was definitely getting that scenario where an older woman got them into porn as a teen, or just into you know, sex toys, or you know, S&M, that kind of stuff. So that's definitely coming up for someone, so let me know if that resonates with anyone. I was getting a dominatrix, and actually I'm getting a heterosexual relationship where the woman is a dominatrix, but she's actually gay, and she's just not facing her own wounds about that. So she's actually abusing her husband or her partner. And the partner, you know, because the masculine's going to be scared, to be embarrassed that they're being abused about something like that, so they won't come out with it. But I was definitely also getting another message for some Divine Masculines, so this is very specific to a few, who are in contracts they can't get out of, that the key to their release of their contract is coming out with their abuse in their relationship, because that will get them out of their contract. Yeah, I was definitely get that. It's so important to open up about your sexual abuse and not care what anyone else thinks. You know, it's really so wrapped up in how other people perceive you and what society would say about that, and like, who cares? It's all about speaking your truth. And I may get into that more on a personal level on another video, just talking about that and maybe expressing what I've gone through and some of my situations growing up, so that maybe that will encourage other people to come out and speak their truth. So I was seeing half a heart, and I was getting this more for the Divine Masculine, like they're exposing their heart a little bit now, like halfway, not all the way, but halfway. And again, another abusive situation came up with passion in the grass, and I was getting with different scenarios. Martial arts master was coming up, a religious leader was coming up, as well as just in general. So these were specific: a martial arts master and a religious leader that were either the abuser or the abused in the grass. So somewhere, and it was sexual abuse. But I was also getting specific to anyone in power over an innocent child. And these children, as adults now, trying to rebuild their hearts and allowing their feelings to come out, at least halfway, to release toxic energy. So I was specifically getting scenarios, college campuses, for any of those of you whose kids are in college right now, how susceptible they are to abusive power on college campuses, as well as the business associated with college campuses, like gyms that all the kids work out at, as well as pools. I know specifically my daughter was a lifeguard at a pool where she was living, and the manager was sexually abusive. And when she called the management in another state, of course, who was detached from the whole situation about it, she spoke to a female who literally gave her no support whatsoever as far as her job and being abused, sexually abused by or, you know, trying to be sexually abused by this person who was above her. So that was a bit disheartening, knowing that she was calling for help and a woman gave her no help whatsoever in a sexual abuse situation. So don't let that happen. You know, fortunately my daughter's very close with me, and she's very open about most of the things in her life, so she was able to share this with me so I could help her get through some of those administrative, you know, BS type situations. And being able to then in that situation, she was actually taking one of her law classes and was able to consult her teacher, who was a lawyer, about what her rights were, that kind of thing. So that was good. But making your kids aware of these kind of things, just even at the gym too, you know, people who are at a place of power, you know, the trainers, people who everyone perceived to be, you know, the one who has it all in that situation. You know, young people in college are often prey to these people, and these people who are abusing them may be children themselves with wounds. Okay? And not maybe, but they are, because obviously they all have wounds. So it's all about the innocence of a child, the naivete, the shyness of a child. How destroyed that can be by just one incident as a child. And it doesn't even have to have been a rape or something like that. Just showing them how little power that they have, and having them believe that for the rest of their life will shape their whole childhood. The Spirit's connecting with me. So what was coming up is like a hermit energy shedding light on the Wheel of Fortune, being stuck due to deception about psychic abilities, but pretending to not know, to avoid their shadow aspects. So that was coming up regarding the Divine Masculine, and denying their psychic abilities, even though they may know everything, and deny it because they're so in fear of exposing that and not wanting to have to deal with the situation. It could have financial, status repercussions, all of these kind of things. But some of the Divine Masculines definitely are aware of their connection and just pretending to not know so they don't have to deal. And this is about pushing down their shadow aspects and avoiding. Avoiding comes up a lot, avoidance. And there's so much fear because of whatever their abuse situations were growing up, and just their fear of not being able to take care of themselves or their families, the financial situations involved in that, the repercussions. So, yeah, and just actually public swimming pools where kids go. You know, lifeguards abuse their power. I specifically experienced something like that, which would just form the way I thought about myself. It's even just words, you know, affect children so much. You know, what you say to them or the names that you call them. I was getting that this hermit energy feels stuck between a rock and a hard place, between bad luck and deception. That this Divine Masculine energy is what I'm getting, is in their knowing. And those around them, though, pretending not to see. So Divine Masculine is who's in a partnership where the partner actually has known the whole time, but is pretending not to see, so they don't have to deal with the situation, or so their Divine Masculine won't leave. Kind of like zombies or robots controlled by others. And it's all about perception, how you see things. I was getting to meditate to release the toxic energy and to stay present in your knowing. So definitely, and this was at 11:44, rejection, shyness, naivete, and epiphanies about this information is very important right now. Sudden events or epiphanies come up to help families become happier, teaching your kids that they're resisting, and that's a block. Blocks to finding balance, equitable distribution in relationships. The center issue is coming up as new passion or topics we avoid regarding family and standing up for yourself, and looking back at older men in your life as a child who abused their power with you. And it doesn't have to be older men, it can be older women as well. It's just more typical to the girl. But it happens with boys all the time too. They just don't share their emotions about it. So, and again, that comes the like father, like son thing, right? Where the son becomes just like their father was, and it's not what they want to be. and they're not, but they may be expressing some of those tendencies because they're pushing down their truth. So there's challenges of conflict in the mind. That's that Five of Swords energy. You know, a war within your own head is going to block so much good in your life. And I can speak on that from personal experience. If you're obsessed about your own issues throughout your childhood, you block everything good from coming into your life because you're blocking your connection with your higher self. And so you're abusing yourself. Those confused emotions and impatience to get what you want and where you need to go, and just kids just starting out after college is coming up, and actually from high school to college, not knowing how to proceed and having patience with yourself to just take one step at a time, and how to pursue a passionate connection in a healthy way. So, and trust issues. Who is okay to trust and not to trust? And is that just an expression of fear, right? So if you don't trust someone, it's a fear of something, that they're going to take your power away from you. But it's at the same time not to go into fear, but if someone's not resonating with you or giving you a bad feeling, that may not be someone that you should trust or allow into your space, at least. You know, you don't have to go into fear about it, but you know, you don't need to associate with that person either. Trust your instincts. What is your body telling you? Teach your children in a situation where they're going out to parties when they're young to pay attention to what their body is telling them. Do they feel sick or nauseous or stressed around somebody? Maybe they should walk away and see how they feel once they've walked away to see the difference. So with the Knight of Wands coming up, it's tests of passion. What took away your flame? What took away your passion, your inspiration? What wounded your spirituality? What disconnected you from your higher self when you were young? These are the wounds that need to come up to clear. Because when you're young and you develop these wounds or have abuses happen to you, you feel rejected from God or Creator, right? So you disconnect from your higher self because you don't trust. You feel, I was getting too, people feeling about Creator like the King of Swords, like they have no feelings. That it's just this cold, truthful man, right? The King of Swords. He's all about the truth, but there's no compassion there. Cold without emotion. So how can a child start a balanced life of contentment and balance when their natural protection mechanism is seen as cold and harsh, unloving? How does a child remove themselves from toxic energies? And teaching our children meditation, right? To regain that connection with themselves. How it feels as a hermit alone, you know, with no flame, no inspiration, no desire. When your life force is gone, what do you immediately look for? You look for pain to feel alive again, okay? So seeing all of this, seeing and being in this spot alone, feeling abandoned, feeling rejected, and seeing others happy and being, having fun without a care, you know, and how much more isolating that can make you feel. Praying to your angels for true love. I was getting specifically, a lot of this is coming up for the Divine Feminine, and that the Divine Masculine, it feels like their back is turned, like the other men in their life have turned their back on them. Specifically getting the energy of the Emperor with the trophy wife, having a sexual connection, but no emotional or spiritual connection, and being comforted by others, who is not the spouse or partner. And then the Divine Masculine ending up juggling, one hand not aware of what the other is doing. The left hand, or the feminine side, trapped by the harsh truth of throwing away the Divine Feminine energy. Discarding it in the trash, like it was trash. I was getting to energy of karmic feminines who were researching ascension. And it could be them just researching, or them and one or more of their children researching about ascension, maybe even ascension symptoms. And I was also getting, and this may be specific because of my history, I did gymnastics when I was young, and I was getting gymnastics competition, and what came up right away for me had to do with weight issues, because you're always judged as a child in gymnastics on your weight and how you look. And about complaining, right? No complaining with your injuries. But what was coming up about this was defending family love in researching ascension. And I wanted to bring up that what I learned from gymnastics. I mean, there were some very positive things that came from being a gymnast, because gymnasts don't really compete against others, they compete against themselves. So you challenge yourself to expand and get better. So in a way, that was great, and learning that you know what you can really accomplish. Because when you've never done gymnastics and you look at a gymnast, it's like, how do you do that? Well, it's one step at a time, like anything else. So learning that, and Spirit's connecting with me, was such a great lesson to learn, that there is no mountain that's too big to climb. It's your perception. It's just like learning to do a back handspring on the beam, It's blind faith, isn't it? Because how do you jump backwards and not worry about landing on your head, right, on the balance beam? But once you've had so many times that someone's spotting you, you develop faith. You have a knowing about it, don't you? So I want to bring up those issues, and just on the dark side of that is the weight and the demands on the body. It teaches you how you can overcome pain, right, and compete. I mean, I've seen people compete on broken legs, which is insane, really, to ask a child to do that, right, because their bones are still growing. But just showing you how it's just practice, makes perfect. So, and not to push down the pain, but it's teaching you that you can overcome it. But you have to also address it. You can't push it down. You have to allow it to come up. You have to know it's there. You can't have other people tell you it's not there when it's there. Address the issues, but then have the ability to overcome that pain. And the really dark part is all about the weight, because if young girls especially don't have enough weight issues growing up about the way they look, gymnastics just compounds that. Because, I was the chubby one in the gymnastics team. So if it wasn't bad enough that I had weight issues outside of gymnastics, then now when I got on the gymnastics team, and now I was in great shape, and I had great confidence to an extent, but I was still the chubby one, right? And it was just, I just even remember, we used to wear, you wear little matching pants underneath the leotard. They probably don't do that anymore, but they used to. And so I would use the waistband of those pants to put it right on my belly where it would stick out a little bit, to push it down a little bit. That's how obsessive the girls get about it. And it's not like I had much fat on me at that time. I was in really good shape. I think I was maybe 115 pounds in my older years before I left. And I left because my mother got in a big fight with my coach they kicked me out of practice for not being on weight. And at the time I was 115 pounds because they wanted me to lose 5 pounds, and I was not allowed to compete. So of course my mother got pissed because she was paying for me to go there. So they couldn't stop me from going to practice. That was ridiculous. It was just after we had gotten a new coach. She had been an Olympic judge, and she was just a nasty woman. She felt like that, she took her judging too seriously. For her, it wasn't about the competition, it was, or the person, it was about, perfection, that was it. She just wasn't a very nice woman. Whereas my coach was wonderful, he wasn't like that at all. So the weight issues and how you perceive yourself, right? So if you saw me at my 115-pound weight, and being punished for looking the way I looked, you'd see how insane it all is. So, and now you understand that this had to carry through my whole life, right? The way I perceived myself and my weight. And I was also the chubbiest in my family. And when I was little, none of my siblings had any weight on them. They were all, growing up, they were all thin and athletic. We were all pushed into music and athletics, so we were very busy all the time. And I was the only one who had any weight on her. So of course it was very, in my face all the time, that everyone was in such great shape and they had flat bellies, and I never had a flat belly. Even when I'm thin, I don't have a flat belly. So you see the issues that come up and that are held within the child as they grow up. This is the way they perceive their entire life. And then of course there's major hang-ups about love and relationships and the way men see you and what's expected of you. And it's not even just the weight issues, there's other issues, and people are not perfect, mentally, physically, spiritually, and those become major issues for them growing up. If things like this are more exposed, then more children will be more likely to be open with their insecurities so that they can let them go and bring them up to their consciousness. So, and the place to start with that is at home, feeling like you have a stable home, but did you really have a stable home? What were really the issues growing up? I was also getting for the Divine Feminine just feeling drained at present when lack of faith comes in. And to hold on to your faith, your knowing, staying present. Honeymoon or breaks were coming up, letting your friends help you, making effort to do your spiritual work, expressing your love. And this isn't just about the Divine Masculine and the Divine Feminine and vice versa. It's about expressing your love to everyone in your life. And this could be the one came up, as well as trust. So trust issues also came up. Trust in your knowing. Trust yourself above all, right? Also, it came up, look at your parents. Were either of your parents abusive to you? How did the other parent react to that abuse? So, my mother, and I don't want to get down on my mother because she could be very loving and supportive too. I mean, she worked her butt off supporting the 5 children. But in a way, it was more of a reflection upon her, how people would see her. She wanted to be seen as that great pillar of the community. And yet she had a really bad temper, and she could be very abusive verbally, and she definitely threw things and all sorts of things when you're growing up. And people don't see that part of your life. They only see what's out in public. Although it was definitely seen sometimes at the grocery store. So, obviously I had a contract with my mother. My siblings weren't affected as much by my mother's abuse as I was, and she definitely took it out more on me because I was more vulnerable. And they don't see that there was a difference in our relationship as well. It wasn't until recently that my aunt, when asking about my mom and why, what postpartum issues might have gone on, she didn't know anything, but she did bring up in front of my sister, which I was glad, and I probably said this before, that that what my grandmother had told her as why my grandmother didn't go to help my mom when she was having issues was she didn't know what issues might have happened outside of being postpartum, but that what she did know was that my grandmother told her, my aunt, that she felt so sorry for me because my mother treated me so badly, and my siblings don't see that. So I was glad that my aunt said this to me in front of my sister. So when my mother had tried to kill herself when I was 2, so I don't know what kind of abuse happened at that time, because obviously if she wasn't doing well, mentally, what was she doing to the baby that she couldn't handle with the 2 boys running around? And I was more sensitive and shy, so I probably triggered the crap out of her. So I don't even know what happened to me from age 0 to 3, basically, and how she treated me, because she had a very bad temper, and from the treatment I do know of, I can only, imagine how it must have affected a 1 or 2 year old. And also someone who was dependent. I was still breastfeeding for the first year, so if she was feeling that anger when she was pregnant with my sister, how was that coming through to me, being held by her all the time, because I would feel her energy, being empathic, right? So you don't see all this stuff. What happened to your parent when they were pregnant with you? All of that, you're experiencing that with them. So really go through what happened with your parents. The worst part, and I can say from my experience that the worst part about being a child of someone who has that kind of anger in them and that temper is just the look on her face. I mean, she looked at me with such hate at times, and disdain, like disgust, because when she looked at me, I reminded her what she did to herself that she didn't want anyone to know about. So this is how awful secrets are to keep. It just causes more wounds and more issues for the person and for the others around them. So know what, go back and look at more of your childhood wounding from your parents specifically father and son was coming up a lot. And my father trying to make up for what my mother did, but he really wasn't around. He was working all the time. And he did try to, I always felt his protection of me, like he gave me extra attention to try to make up for what she did. But but at the same time, he was emotionally detached. He wasn't in touch with his emotions. So he did the best he could. He didn't know how to open his heart more. And he didn't even know he had this wounding. He had been in the war growing up. He lost a brother, but he had never addressed any of this wounding. It just he seemed to be fine to everyone. But he was emotionally detached. So I'm getting the energy again. This came up a couple times of the Page of Wands around the Divine Feminines. So this childhood passion. It also can be excitement and inspiration. I was being shown to bring up the source. There's a sore spot. I was seeing 1 or 2 downloads that are coming into the Divine Feminines that they need to address. The really deep sore spots within their wounding that need to come up, that are present in this life, that they worry about other people knowing about themselves. These are the real tender spots that aren't expressed that need to come up. To clear blocks of downloads coming in and being afraid to pass them on. And I was getting 2 in particular for the Divine Feminine. To allow the last of the swords to fall out of your back that are draining your power. Speak to the world about your blocks. And music came up, and spiritual career. So I'm working on your mission and play music. If you're not into a musician or into music, that kind of thing, use music to help calm you and raise your vibration. And focus on spiritual career. And again, that relates to implementing your plans. So the Divine Feminine is very good at planning, but how good are you at implementing your plans? But only based on inspiration, not on what other people think you're supposed to do or the timelines you've set for yourself. No. It's about what you feel inspired to at that moment. Allow your inspiration to come through. So also seeing the Divine Feminine, seeing like wondering about the Divine Masculine and jealousy issues. And as you open as the Divine Feminine is able to open to her inner child's heart, she's going to have a ripple effect on her children and their friends and her Divine Masculine. All of this internally will be a rippling effect because you're very attached to not only your Divine Masculine but your children as well. You're so empathically attached to them. so that it affects them directly. So you, as many wounds as you're able to bring up and deal with, it will reflect on them as well, and they'll be able to release all of that. So I'm seeing, literally, the inner child exploding with all their feelings that have been kept in, of feeling desperate and needing to express feelings of being thrown away like trash, and jealousy and fantasy and rage and abandonment issues, no support issues, cold men and spirits connecting with me. I'm being thrown away in the trash. It brings up someone I met from work who opened up to me, and he's passed many years now, but an older man who, he was in his 70s, and I might have brought this up a long time ago, but he just touched my heart so much. He was in his 70s, he was still cutting lawns to make a living with his wife, and he was in the hospital, and I had been dealing with him, and he was very, scruffy guy, and he didn't let anyone in, he was kind of tough that way, he didn't trust anyone. But, I was seeing him on a regular basis, so he started to open up to me. And one day I was in the front entrance watching his wife come to get him, to come pick him up. And she had just been discharged from the hospital too, and she was on crutches. And she was much bigger than him, in height and stature, so it was kind of funny. It was like Kermie and, Miss Piggy, the really cute combination. And I say that about my sister and her husband all the time, so I'm not saying it in an offensive way, it's a very loving, endearing way. So I see him go to greet her, and he's just this scruffy little old guy, just goes up to her and just grabs her face and just plants one right on her, and she's got this really low voice like this. It was the cutest thing I ever saw. This man had told me that he'd been thrown in the trash can, literally, as a baby. He was in jail multiple times as a teenager, obviously, and it's obviously struggled his whole life with wounding. And look at the love that he had with his partner, and spirits connecting with me. It was just such a beautiful thing. It's just showing you how strong love is, that love does conquer all. So all of these issues, those categories were the specific things coming up to express to you guys. Feeling thrown away like trash. So obviously a lot of divine feminines are going to have felt that. Their divine masculines threw them away like trash without a word. Who gives a crap if you want to kill yourself, right? This is the energy. Jealousy, fantasy, rage, abandonment, feeling like no one's there to support you, cold men with no feeling. But I was getting that the divine feminine is like guiding the divine masculine home. Usually I see that in that sense. I see the divine masculine guiding the divine feminine, but today I was getting the divine feminine, by bringing up their wounding, is helping guide the divine masculine back to self-love. Once the innocent open up about sexual exploitation, all hell breaks loose. Okay? Because now people may get defensive about that. The arrogant protect themselves, but also those who are satisfied in their knowing start to heal and forgive and move forward in their truth and clarity. Lots of thoughts from the divine feminine about, and divine masculine, about the scales of truth and balance and their union stability. Maybe thinking about things ahead of time, and maybe because they don't know certain things, they're worried about certain things. Inspiration in your knowing, in your passion, in your conflict about how you look, about bellies and boobs was coming up. To ascend past risk, because risk is fear. Any risk is fear. So to ascend past all of that, there is no risk in love, in passing on your downloads, the messages that you've received, in order to raise consciousness boldly regarding players and innocent hearts. Okay? So it's very much about the Knight of Wands today. And we'll pull some oracle cards to see what kind of messages we get. Okay? And okay, I'm sorry, I'm kind of a mess today. I'm not in my pajamas, and, I am in my pajamas. I don't even know what I just said, but. So we have you have my natural look today. I'm being my authentic self, my authentic morning self. ascension. Okay, see if we can calm some of these stressful energies. Organic God, Christus, Sophia, Mother, Father, Ark, please armor us with your love against all that is not of organic love and light, across all dimensions of time, space, matter, and realities, for the highest good of all that is concerned. Transmute, transform, transcend, and clear, please. And so it is. For the organic, divine masculine, divine feminine twin flames, what is the guidance today? What is the advice? For the organic, divine masculine, divine feminine twin flames, what is the advice? What is the advice? Okay. Nope, just this one. And again, this came up yesterday. Organic, or Archangel Metatron's retreat. That's number 28. No, actually it wasn't that one. It was something similar. If I'm wrong, let me know. The bottom of the deck is Commander Ashtar. Has 39, which is the Knight of Cups, so the Knights. And the Knight of Swords was coming up, that energy as well today. But you know, the Knight of Wands and Knight of Swords is definitely about, it can be feminine, but it's more masculine energy, like out and about, running around together. So the affirmation is, I connect with Commander Ashtar to serve the universe. So expand your enlightenment. You're being called to intergalactic service. Okay. So Archangel Metatron's retreat is number 28, which is the twin flames. It's 2 of Wands. And 28 is a 1. It's a very masculine energy. It's about inner strength and outer balance. It's that feminine energy, but it comes off as a 1 energy, a very focused and direct, self-oriented number. So, and that's a leadership number. So Archangel Metatron's retreat is above the Temple of Luxor, Egypt, where he holds the ascension energy for the world. He maintains his energy by bringing forward spiritual discipline. He suggests you commit to a spiritual practice if you do not already have one. Luxor is the spiritual throat chakra of Earth, and I'm feeling my throat chakra now, so I'm getting it from myself, but also from you guys right now. As it ascends, people will communicate higher wisdom and link telepathically with all life forms. You're asked to send love and wisdom to all sentient beings. This card invites you to visit Metatron's retreat in your sleep to accelerate your spiritual growth. Okay, and the affirmation is, I'm visiting Metatron's retreat in my sleep tonight. So as I'm reading this, I'm getting a lot of anxiety. I'm feeling like it's actually more divine masculine oriented, which is interesting. And Metatron's been guiding the masculine, so it's very connected. You know, the 2 of Wands card, you know, is the man holding the world. It's usually in his right hand. It's that very masculine energy of dominating the world, choosing a path when you have the world in your hand, being able to control the world. So that can be very a daunting task, right? It's a lot of responsibility. So it's talking about commit to that spiritual practice if you don't already have one, so that you can maintain this stress. The energies that come in, not from other people only, but also the energies that are being downloaded to us, is going to make you feel like you're stressed when you're not, because you're feeling your body's being physically stressed by these energies. It's not emotional stress. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, so it's about speaking your truth when you're feeling these things. And when you are feeling stressed, even if it is from the downloads of energy, feel into that stress to see what's bringing up for you. It's trying to give you a message. Okay, So Archangel Metatron's retreat. So ask to go to that retreat for healing if you want to when you go to sleep. You just have to ask, and a reminder to ask your guides and angels, your masters, your ETs for help, because they can't intervene on your behalf unless you ask them to. From the past life deck. Okay, for the organic, divine masculine, divine feminine, twin flames, what is the advice? What is the advice for the organic, divine masculine, divine feminine, twin flames? And we have actually 2 cards want to come out. And the bottom of the deck is Greco-Roman time period. Okay. So this is, so you might want to reflect back to the Greek and Roman time periods. See if anything comes up for you. For me, as soon as I saw it, my first husband was Italian. He was very abusive to me. So that brought up that energy. Have I addressed all of those issues? So feel into those things. The cards that came up is trust and faith. Okay. You see the light coming through. The light shines through. And you see your wings. Trust and faith. You know, feel your wings. Sometimes you're going to be feeling your wings, a lot of pain and stress in them because you're getting your wings, right? Those chakras are opening up. Unrequited love. Deal with any unrequited love issues. And this is definitely bringing me up mother energy, you know, young mothers. Maybe young mothers who weren't, you know, they were still wounded themselves. How do they raise children in a loving way when they don't even know how to love themselves or deal with themselves? So unrequited love and trust and faith. Yeah, she doesn't look very happy. She's kind of giving you that look like, you know, you're the cause of my pain. So let some of that stuff come up for you. And then the journey of love. Journey of love. For the organic, divine masculine, or feminine, twin flames. Alright, for the divine masculine, divine feminine, twin flames. Organics only, please. What is the advice? What is the advice? What is the advice? Okay. Got 2. Alright, the bottom of the deck is within nothing, there is everything. Okay. So there's a lot of blues and purples, whites, pinks, a little bit of green in there. It's number 2, which is the High Priestess. So it's, you know, about, and there's a cross at the vortex, basically. What is the block? It's actually right before the entrance. So what is your last block to clear before you can get into that vortex? But also within nothing and everything, it's, you know, 0 point. Within 0 point is everything. The cards that came out are, again, we just got this, was drop into your heart. So it's again reminding you to focus intention on your heart space when you're getting all these heavy downloads. Okay, and that looks like a snail. It's circular energy. It's like chakra ray energy. You know, bring your power here. Exactly it. Bring your power to your heart. Drop into your heart. 68. 68 is the Page of Pentacles. And that's all about learning. And reaching out. Learning about energy, studying energy. Could be inviting, offering. Okay, it can have to do with practical things like money, offering a loan, receiving a loan. But drop into your heart. Maybe all dropping into your heart will help you clear some stuff so you can get some of these things that you want or you need or you're interested in. And I'll read that in a moment. The other card is She Loves. Okay. And if you notice in this picture, you know, what's it's accentuated, what's leaning forward in the picture, okay? It's her sexual parts. like the rest of her is leaning back. It's not as important. She loves. And it is about sexuality. It's about flowering, you know, opening yourself up. It's 61. 61 is the 7 of Swords. So that's all about that risk energy we were talking about, right? Taking a risk. Risk is fear-based. There is no risk if there's no fear, right? It's just she loves. So take those risks. If you feel fear about something, you need to overcome that fear. Don't go jumping off bridges. You know, we do have ego for a reason, to protect us from doing things like that. But also, it's about recognizing that risk is fear. And that we don't need that fear. Okay? Fear is an illusion. It's just the perception of what might happen if you do that, whatever you're fearing. So we'll read these 2 cards. And also again, so it's bringing up the balance of the heart. So bring the power to your heart space. And the feminine sexuality. And what does that draw to you? So we'll do She Loves first, number 61. She loves. Forgiveness is here for you now. Can you partake of it? Forgiveness for your own self, for the times you messed up, that you didn't love, that you forgot to trust, that you tried to take over and decided against surrender. Forgiveness is here for you now, for the times when you couldn't forgive another. Even if you really tried and really wanted to, she loves. She is here for you now. Open your heart to the angel goddess of forgiveness and let her fill your heart. You are free. This oracle brings you a message from the divine. You are forgiven. You are worthy of forgiveness, and you are capable of great spiritual generosity in forgiving others and spirit connecting with me. If there is a person that you cannot forgive, you are really just not forgiving yourself, perhaps for being vulnerable, for not knowing better, or for not listening to your own intuition. It's time to let that go and allow the forgiveness the divine has for you to fill your heart. You are free now. You just need to realize it. The cherry blossom knows when to bloom each year and never questions whether its beauty is enough. There is peace in knowing you always bloom well, yet man spends a lifetime in wonder, and spirit's connecting with me. Okay, so this is about the perception. You're blooming perfectly just as you are, no matter what you perceive are your imperfections. Our greatest strengths are our greatest weaknesses, right? So in those things you consider weaknesses, consider their greatest strength. Okay. And then number 68. Drop into your heart. There's a place of light within that no darkness can touch. It cannot be shamed. It can never be made impure. It is never lost or darkened or unavailable to us, though we may forget sometimes that sitting in a darkened room and not realizing that we can stand up and walk into the light so close to us, just on the other side of the doorway to the heart. Whatever may arise, great joy, great sorrow, drop into your heart and offer it to the divine, gently bowing your head forward into your hands in prayer. Or you're gently bowing your forehead into your hands in prayer. Connect mind to heart. Let yourself have some peace. It wants you, you know. This oracle brings you an offering. The divine would like you to offer whatever is bringing your heart trouble, or of course joy. The divine would like to receive this from you as a gift, that it may return to you some special blessing. Place your hands at your heart and spirits connecting. In genuine reflection, perhaps you may choose to offer your heart burden or your light now. Either will be joyfully received by the divine, and you shall be graced with a gift in return. And the poem reads, Longing. The dance to move beyond the feeling that draws me forward to a place born within, that calls my soul to feel complete. Longing. The dance to move beyond the feeling that draws me forward to a place born within, that calls my soul to feel complete. Okay. So to come out of longing and to feel complete again is really the journey we're going through. How do you go from feeling out of control into completeness, wholeness? It's just by loving yourself, coming back to love, right? Not allowing someone to take your control away from you, to take your essence away from you, who you are, your inner trust, your knowing, your loyalty to yourself. That's why it's so important to always have that loyalty to yourself first. Okay? And it doesn't have to be someone bad taking your power. But if you allow them to, they may be perceived as someone bad later, right? As taking your power away, because you allowed them to. So let me know what your thoughts are, comments please, and thank you so much for all of your participation. It's always appreciated. And let me know if you need anything. My website and my email are below. Yeah. Have a great week. Drink your water, sleep, exercise, be good to yourself. Do things that you enjoy to do, and don't punish yourself. You're never doing anything wrong. Just follow your heart always, and rise and be loved. Have a great day. Have a great week, guys.